Hello students. So here we with the last part of module number 2. So as just to have a recap, whatever we have discussed in the module number 2 is drawing a phase diagram, interpretation of a phase diagram, and we have learnt how one can interpret the phase diagram, okay, at a different temperature and composition by taking an example of a iron carbon diagram. So once we know how we are going to get the steel and a cast iron depending upon the carbon content, so here we can play with the properties of a steel by adding the different alloys. Okay, so when we are going to add the different alloys to the steel, so what are the property which are going to change, and how one can identify the type of a steel, okay, by the name itself. Okay, so that is what we call as a designation of steel. So normally whenever we look into the alloys of a steel, say for example ASME 1020, okay, so what that number stands for, okay, so those things we are going to look in the last part of a module number 2. Okay, so go through that one. So first we'll understand what are the different types of steels we have. Okay, so in the steels, so as we have seen in the iron carbon diagram, so we'll be having three types of steels here. Okay, so depending upon the carbon content, so we term those things as a low carbon steel, which are having carbon content less than 0.2%, medium carbon steel, which are having carbon content in between 0.2 to 0.5%, and a high carbon steel which are having carbon content above 0.5%. So as we have seen in the iron carbon diagram, so the steels will be having, okay, so the eutectoid steels carbon content will be less than 2.1 percentage. So wherever the carbon content which is more than 0.5 and less than 2.1, we are going to call them as a high carbon steels. So normally, okay, in general purpose, so we are going to use a low carbon steels with a 0.2% and a medium carbon steel, the carbon content which lies between a 0.2 to 0.5 percentage. In addition to this carbon, okay, so whenever we are going to add a carbon to the iron, okay, so we are going to call that one as a steel. But alone the carbon will not change the properties of a steel to a greater extent. Okay, so to have a different properties, okay, so depending upon the application in the real things, so different alloying elements are added in order to change the properties. Say for example manganese, silicon, phosphorus, nickel, okay, sulfur, chromium and copper. And now we need to know so by adding these alloying elements, what are the properties of the steel are going to change, and how we are going to identify by looking into the name of the steel. So here also when we are going to add the different alloying elements to this one, so we are going to classify the steel into two categories. So one as a low alloy steel, okay, so low alloy steel are nothing but the alloy content totaling, say for example if I'm going to have a manganese, silicon, nickel, chromium, so whatever the percentage we are going to add into the steel, so the total should be less than 8%. Okay, so then we are going to call them as a low alloy steels. And the next category we have a high alloy steels, where the alloy content totaling will be more than 8%. So whatever the content, say for example if you're going to add a 4 elements, okay, 4 elements into the steel, manganese, silicon, nickel and chromium, adding those all the 4 contents, the content alloying content should be more than 8%. So when it is more than 8%, we call them as a high alloy steels. So now once we are going to add these alloying elements into the steel, so how exactly or what are the properties are going to change into that one. Say if you are going to have a plain carbon steel, so plain carbon steel is something like a in which we are not having any alloying elements. Okay, so when I say plain carbon steel, so these are like a predetermined. Okay, so like a silicon, manganese, sulfur, phosphorus will be there in that one. Okay, so normally the content of these things will be termed in the plain carbon steel. Okay, so when I say the alloy steels, so alloying elements will be normally, if I say like a manganese, okay, nickel, chromium, molybdenum, okay, silicon, or a vanadium, tungsten, copper, sulfur, and a phosphorus. Okay, so when these elements are added, okay, as we discussed in the previous slide, so the on content of these elements added into the steel will designate them as a low alloy or a high alloy steels. Now we need to know, okay, by adding these elements what are the changes which are going to take place in the steel. Say for example, if we are going to add a manganese, so it will slightly enhance the strength and hardness. Okay, if I add a chromium, normally, so we have heard chromium, whenever we are going to talk about a chromium is a corrosion resistance material. So whenever we are going to have that one, so we are going to designate that steel as a stainless steel. Okay, so the steel which we are going to use it for handrails. Okay, so which is not meant for having a corrosion at all. Okay, so which is free from rust. Okay, so we are going to have a aluminum which is oxidation resistance. So normally we know like whenever we are going to use a aluminum alloys or aluminum, okay, in a practical application, that is a corrosion resistance which is free from oxidation. Okay, so you want to have that one in a steel also, then we can have a aluminum or a molybdenum which is corrosion resistance in a seawater. So whatever the steel, normally we use it for a marine application, so there we look for a molybdenum. Okay, or so the chromium, vanadium, molybdenum, tungsten, manganese, so these are meant in order to form a carbides. Okay, so whenever we say carbides, carbides are having a high melting point. Carbides are having a high melting point. So carbides are having a high melting point means, so these are going to act as a precipitation hardening. Okay, so if you can recall the things which we discussed in a module number 1, okay, the strengthening mechanisms, where the alloys are added in order to act as an obstacle to the movement of the dislocation, so which increases, okay, which increases the strength of the steel. Okay, so the same thing here, so chromium carbide, vanadium carbide, or tungsten carbide. Okay, so these things are going to combine with the carbon which is present in the steel, and they are going to form a carbides. The carbides will be having a high melting point, and they are going to act as a precipitates. Okay, precipitates are a solid solution strengthening. So silicon will improve magnetic property and promotes graphitization. So promotes graphitization means, whenever we are going to have a free carbon like in the form of a graphite, so that is something like a self lubricating material. Okay, so only whenever we have a free carbon, so there will be a smooth movement, there will be a smooth movement between the two surfaces. For example, okay, so next one will be having a tungsten, so increases the melting point, as we have already seen here. Okay, which will combine to form a carbides, which will again in turn will increase the melting point. And copper, atmospheric corrosion resistance. Okay, so already we know like these are a non-ferrous material which are non-corrosion in nature. Okay, so phosphorus will increase the strength, hardness, but decreases the ductility. So already we have seen this one in the module number 1, where we need to compromise the ductility with the hardness and the strength. You want a very good ductility and a strength, then you have to compromise with the ductility. Okay, so even with the impact toughness means, the alloying elements can be added up to 50%. Okay, so not more than that one. So not more than, if you're going to add more than that one, the originality of that material will be lost. Okay, so whenever we talk about the alloying elements to the steel, so these are the impact which we are going to add it or added to the things on that one. Okay, like that. So next, once we understand, so the elements which we are going to add it into the things, the properties which we are going to change it in the steel. So we'll see in like so what is the impact of these alloying elements on the iron carbon diagram. Okay, so you can see it here. So this is the eutectoid. Just for an example, we have taken a eutectoid where solid 1 will give rise to the solid 2 plus a solid 3. So where gamma will give rise to the alpha plus Fe3C. Okay, so once we are going to add any alloying element into the steel, okay, the actual eutectoid structure will change. Okay, so you can see it here. So we have taken the y-axis as a eutectoid temperature, and on the x-axis we have taken a concentration of alloying elements in a weight percentage, so whenever we are going to have a whenever we are going to have these elements, okay, so these elements are going to change the temperature at which this eutectoid reaction is going to take place. Say for example, in a normal thing, okay, in a normal steel which is having a 0.8% of carbon, the eutectoid temperature will be 727. Okay, so if you're going to add these, say nickel, manganese, chromium, tungsten, all these things, you can see the way in which it is going to affect the eutectoid temperature. So once this eutectoid temperature, either if it is going to increase or decrease, the area in which the ferrite and this austenite stabilizers will change. Okay, say for example, if the temperature increases, this 727 increases to 800. Okay, so below, that is the area below the curve will increase, means you are going to get the ferrite stabilized at a high temperature also. Okay, means the area in which austenite is presenting will lesser, will be lesser. Okay, so that is the effect of this. You can say nickel will decrease, okay, titanium will increase. Okay, so as it increases the eutectoid temperature, the ferrite which is exiting at room temperature, okay, even it can exist at a high temperature, but without these alloying elements, the ferrite will not be stable above 727. Okay, above 727. So what will happen? So this alpha will transform to the gamma, so which is having a maximum carbon solubility of 2.1. Okay, so that is the effect of alloying elements on the eutectoid temperature of a iron carbon phase diagram. Okay, so once we move on these things, so we have two things here. Okay, so one category, so whatever the elements which we talked about till now, so we'll categorize them into ferrite stabilizers and austenite stabilizers. Means so these, if we are going to add these elements into the steel, okay, so it is going to maintain, okay, the ferrite at a high temperature also. Okay, so in a normal condition, so it is going to have the ferrite which will be there below 727. So if we are going to add these elements into that one, so even the ferrite can exist, okay, which can be exist and in a stable form above 727 degrees Celsius also. So what are those things? So titanium, molybdenum, silicon, tungsten and chromium. Say now in a normal eutectoid temperature, okay, so this austenite can exist above 727, above 727. So if you want this austenite to be present below 727 also, okay, so if we add these manganese, nickel, cobalt, copper, so then these elements will lower the eutectoid temperature, so thereby increasing the area in which austenite can exist. Okay, say for example, so if you look into the normal eutectoid, so the austenite will be present above 727, but if you're going to add these alloying elements, the 727 will come down, say for example 500 also. So now you can have the austenite so above 500 degrees Celsius itself. So in order to have that one, so you need to add these alloying elements into the steel. Okay, so only we call them as a in a two category, as a ferrite stabilizers as well as a austenite stabilizers. Okay, so now, so once we know what are the alloying elements and what are the effects of those alloying elements on the steel, so the last part is how we are going to designate the steels. Okay, so how we are going to designate the steels in different categories. So now once we see these things, so there are a number of ways in which you can designate the steel. Just to take examples, we will say like a AISI, SAE, ASTM and a BIS. So AISI is American Iron Steel Institute, SAE is Society of Automotive Engineers, ASTM American Society for Testing and Materials, so BIS Bureau of Indian Standards. Means so we'll use many terminology, okay, so in order to indicate the type of the steel. Say for example, okay, so how we are going to designate the steel. Say here we have taken two things, AISI and SAE. Okay, so now when we write these according to these things, we'll say for example we'll write SAE 1020. Okay, we will write the coding company with the digits. Okay, so now the four digits will indicate okay, you can say normally it is indicated with the four digit where the first digit indicates the main alloying element. Okay, say for example if you are going to add a chromium into that one, so the first letter in the fourth one, like a first one will indicate the major alloying element, the second digit indicates the secondary alloying element. Say for example along with the chromium, so if you have a nickel, so the second category, the second digit will indicate the second percentage of a second element, and the last two digits indicate the amount of carbon in a weight percentage. Say for example if you have a 5 8% of a carbon, okay, so then these two digit will indicate a 0 5. Okay, that is a 5%. Okay, so that's how exactly we're going to indicate or designate the type of a steel. So if you take any examples here, okay, so how we are going to form or how we are going to indicate these types of alloying elements on a different category. Okay, just to have a revision, so we have a 4 digits. First digit major alloying element, second digit minor alloying element, and the last two digits indicate the carbon content in the alloying that is a steel alloy. So if you just look into the things, okay, so we have a table where we can say one will indicate a carbon steels and two indicates a nickel steels. So as we said, the first digit indicates the major alloying element. The first digits indicates the major alloying element. So if I say 1, it's a carbon steel, 2 nickel steel, 3 nickel chromium steel, 4 molybdenum steel, 5 only chromium steel, 6 chromium vanadium steels, 7 tungsten steels, 8 nickel chromium, and a 9 silicon manganese. Means the first digits will indicate, say now we will say it here as a SAE 1020, SAE 1020. So now 1 indicates it's a carbon steel. So similarly, so when you look to the second digit, when you look to the second digit, say for example, so we have a 10 XX. Okay, so this one is like a plain carbon steel, and 0 is so we don't have any minor alloying elements. We don't have any minor alloying elements. So 1 means it's a high sulfur carbon steel. So we have a carbon steel. Okay, so which will be having us the second digit 1 indicates the sulfur, and the second digit 2 indicates a sulfur and a phosphorus, and the second digit 5 indicates a plain carbon steel with the manganese with the 1.65% of a manganese. Okay, so if it is a manganese steel, so we have a 1 carbon steel, okay, 3 with the manganese. So if it is a nickel, so we know like it's a 2 in the first one, and the 3 in the second digit will indicate a nickel with a 3.5 percentage. Okay, or 2 5 means the nickel will be having a 5 percentage. Okay, so like that the second digit will indicate the percentage of major alloying element into that one. Okay, so now once we see the categories, okay, so here also we can say, okay, molybdenum steel, the first digit is a 4 and the next digit is a 0, and here we have given a 4. Okay, so 0 indicates molybdenum content will vary from a 0.2 to 0.5. Okay, so here it's a 4, so molybdenum content will vary from 0.4 to 5.2. So in the same way, okay, so we can look into the chromium, okay, and molybdenum steel. Okay, and here when you look into the chromium steel, so the first digit is a 5 and 0 will indicate the chromium content will vary from 0.27 to the 0.65. Okay, so if it is a 6, we have seen the first digit will indicate the major alloying element, chromium, vanadium, steel. So the next one they have said, so chromium and vanadium will vary in this percentage, means so when we look into the digits, so easily one can find out so what is the major alloying element into that one, and what are the proportions which normally we are going to get into the steels. Okay, so when we see the whole thing, okay, so the first digit, second digit, all the four, so SAE, the Society of Automotive Engineers, and the first one will indicate the plain carbon steel. Okay, so the second digit 0 will indicate some modification in the alloys, means there is no alloy content which is added into that one. Okay, and the last two digits will indicate the carbon percentage in the steel. Okay, so what is the carbon percentage in the weight percentage we said? So 40%, 40 means it is a 0.4 percentage. 0.4 percentage means divided by 100 will give to the carbon content into the that particular steel, means so whenever you can, if you see, okay, say for example SAE 1020 or AISI 1020, so 101 will indicate carbon steel, 0 will indicate no major alloying element into that one, so 20 will indicate the carbon content into the particular steel is a 0.2 percentage, means so once we understand, okay, so what are the alloying elements which we are going to add into the steel. Okay, so steel is a one which is having a carbon content less than 2.1. Okay, so in general, if you are going to add a particular alloying element into the steel, so the properties of the steel are going to change as we discussed in the previous slides. And once we are going to add the alloying elements, how exactly we're going to indicate the added alloying element with the name? So by designation of the steel with respect to the different designation respective, say AISI or SAE, like that, or ASTM. Okay, so if you take those, so normally in general the steel is designated with the 4 digits. Okay, so the first digit will indicate the major alloying element, the second digit will indicate the proportion of the major element which is added to the steel, and the third and the fourth digit will indicate the carbon percentage which is present in the steel in the weight percentage. So whatever the number they gave in the last two digit divided by 100 will give the percentage of carbon which is present in the steel. Okay, so once you look into the number, so easily one can understand what is the major element which is added, and how it is going to affect the properties of the steel. So that completes the model number 2, so where we have seen the solid solution. Okay, so how exactly a solid solution is formed, so what are the different phase diagrams, so by combining those phase diagrams, how one can understand, we have taken an example of iron carbon phase diagram, and how the iron carbon diagram is going to be affected with the added alloying elements, and how these added alloying elements will be indicated with the steel name, that is a steel designation. Okay, so thank you.